Hey! Are you just getting started in the wedding photography industry and are building your collection of lenses and gear? Are you trying to figure out which items you should invest in first? This video is all about wedding photography gear, Nikon specifically, and how you can use each piece of equipment to capture a wedding day. Hey, I'm Chelsey. I've been a Nikon photographer for about 5 years now. Over the years, I've been gradually adding to my wedding photography gear collection, and I'm going to go over with you how I use each item. Sitting here with me is all my gear minus one of my D750s and my 35. They're what I'm currently using to record this video. So I just have my old D7000 sitting here just to serve as a visual placeholder to the fact that I have two camera bodies. Let's get started with the lenses first. I can say for sure that I use every lens in my bag on a wedding day except for maybe the 28. Honestly, I bought the 28 1.8 specifically for when I was going on a long-term trip to Scotland. It is an awesome lens for landscapes and has very little distortion, which I absolutely love. At a wedding, this one comes out for the big group shots of everyone in attendance. And I also used to use it for wider couple shots until I got the 35. This lens is great for when you're forced to work in a tight space, and it can be used for location establishing shots and wide wedding party photos. I now use the 35 1.8 for those wider couple photos because it has zero distortion. It's also a very popular focal length alongside the 50mm for documentary images. I will use this lens during the getting ready so I can portray the whole scene and everyone in it, especially if it's in a tighter area. I'll use it during ceremonies to get establishing shots of the scene, and maybe use this lens or the 50 for the walk down the aisle based on how much space I have. It's part of my portrait trio, so it's used during bride and groom photos as well. For 90% of the dancing photos, I use this lens as the focal length really forces me to get in there and capture that action. As you may already know, the 50mm is a fantastic starter lens for many areas of photography and is equivalent to what the human eye sees. This lens spends the most time on my camera body as it is always used for family, wedding party, bride and groom, getting ready, and reception detail photos. It is also used in combination with other lenses during the ceremony. As a documentary style wedding photographer, I tend to capture a wider view so that the complete story of a moment is included in the frame. For example, I like to create photos of mom and dad in the corner looking on as their kid is getting married. You cannot go wrong having a 50mm in your kit, and I highly recommend that it is one of the first lenses that you invest in. The next one I want to talk about is the 105 macro, and this one will only come out at least once or twice a day. It is specifically used for getting ready detail shots, macro shots of the ring, small details of the cake, and detail photos of the wedding favors if they have like really tiny writing on them. There's a newer version of this lens which may be a better option. I feel like this one has a very hard time focusing when the depth of field is very small and I'm moving and stuff. So instead I'll just switch to manual, sway back and forth, and take the photo when I get the right focus. I also used to use it for ceremony photos when I wanted to get a little more reach over my 85. It definitely works fine for that. So I feel like a macro lens is something that you'll want to add to your bag at some point so you can get those epic ring shots and intricate details of the day. My favorite lens is the 85mm. I find it very versatile and I feel like I could cover a whole wedding with it if I really needed to. I primarily use this lens for portraits, reception, candids, and ceremony shots if it's a smaller ceremony space with fewer guests. This was my main ceremony lens until I recently got the 7200. It's a gorgeous portrait lens that compresses your subject and has a perfect amount of bokeh in the background. This would be my number 2 recommendation to someone who is just getting started in the wedding photography business. The 70-200 is the newest member of the family and I am so in love with it. This lens is by far the best one I have in terms of sharpness. It's an amazing lens and I highly recommend picking up at some point in your career. I decided to add it to my collection because I felt like I was getting in the way too much during ceremonies. As a documentary photographer, I don't want to distract anyone from what's happening up at the front. For the most part, this lens, I can stand at the very back behind all the guests and still get right up close on the bride and groom. It's also great if you want to create portraits that have a massive amount of like creamy, smooth bokeh in the background. This lens I also use sometimes for reception candidates, so I can also be, again, a fly on the wall as much as possible. I don't want to distract anyone or have anyone know that I'm taking their photo, because most people stop smiling or get super awkward when they realize the camera is pointed on them. This is an important item to have if you're shooting in a large church with a lot of guests, and then all of a sudden the priest is like, oh yeah, you're not allowed to come up here, you have to stay all the way back there. No matter what situation is like thrown at you, you have to perform. The downside to this lens, I would say, is that it's extremely heavy, and at least in my opinion. I'm used obviously to these like tiny lenses, so every time I use this one I get like a workout. I try not to use it as much because I feel like it really hurts my back and my side, and I feel exhausted the next day. The camera bodies that I use are the Nikon D750s. It's really well known for doing incredibly well in low light situations, and I can push it up to ISO 4000. I have two of them because things don't last forever. You definitely don't want your camera to stop working in the middle of a wedding day, and I don't, not have a backup. I would think I would die if that ever happened to me. So the only time that I shoot with both of my cameras at the same time is during some ceremonies in which I want to use the 70-200. I find it way too hard to like try and change out the lenses because it's massive. So I'll have a 50 or a 35 on the other one and just switch those ones as I see fit. For the rest of the day, I just use the one camera body and change lenses as I go. When I shoot an engagement session, I only bring 3 lenses in my Shootsac. The 3 lenses I bring along are the 35, 50, and the 85. Let's quickly touch on wedding photography lighting equipment as well. In terms of light, I bring 2 flashes, a light wand, Pocketwizards as triggers, Magmod Grids, and of course stands. When I am lighting the reception, I use on-camera flash for details, candidates, speeches, and dancing. For the first dances, I add an off-camera flash as a rim light to kind of create that extra drama and dimension. I trigger the flash using those Pocketwizards, which are plugged into each of the flashes. To create a spotlight effect, I use the grids on the flash. Of course, you're going to need 2 flashes for this lighting setup, and even if you decide not to light this way, you'll want to bring an extra flash. Just like your camera body could stop working and you get in hot water, the same is true for your flashes. I had one of my flashes give up on life a couple months ago in the middle of a wedding, and I would have been in big trouble if I didn't have my alarm with me because receptions are so dark. The flashes that I am currently using is the Nikon SB 900 and the Godox TT685. The flash that died was actually an SB 900, and I was pondering whether or not to buy another one, but I heard everyone was switching to Godox and they were like literally a fraction of the price, so I decided to give them a try, and so far they're awesome. So next up is the Yungnuo Light Wand 2. This is used for night photos and even for indoor portraits if you don't have quality light where you have decided to shoot. When you are creating night couple photos in which you are painting your couple, with this light you'll also need a tripod, so I bring my Manfrotto 55X ProB. Of course, you'll need lots of little things that keep your equipment alive and capturing, which of course would be your batteries and your memory cards. For my flashes, I bring a ton of Eneloop rechargeables, and then I bring 3 Nikon batteries for my cameras. I have tried the knockoff Nikon batteries. The one I had lasted a year and wouldn't take a charge, so I just stay with the Nikons because they're definitely worth it. You'll want more memory cards than you think you'll need, so bring lots. Don't forget that you'll want to set your second card to backup in case of corruption, so you'll need double the amount of cards that you think. I typically fill it at 64. So I have all this gear. Where does it live? Well, the main camera bag that I use is the Tenba Cooper 16. It holds 5 lenses, both camera bodies, 2 flashes, and of course extra batteries and memory cards and other little things. This bag is awesome because it is well made and even the 70-200 fits snugly. On my body at all times is my Shootsac. It has room to carry 3 lenses, memory cards, batteries, and lens cloths. A few months ago, I got this small roller bag because there is no way that I can carry this heavy bag for 9 to 12 hours. The wheels will save your life. I definitely don't recommend carrying anything on your body that you don't need to, because the wedding hangover doesn't need to be a thing if you just be nice to your body. So this bag just has things in it that I don't immediately need, like the Pocketwizard Grids, chargers and lens hoods, etc. Nothing really too exciting. I just needed the wheels, and after spending a bunch of money on the Tenba, there was no way I was gonna switch it up for like the big wheelie bag. So this one just sits snugly on top of that one. So out of all this gear, the things I recommend the most if you're just starting out with weddings is 2 camera bodies. The D750 is a great option. If you can't manage to buy a second body at the moment, see if you can rent from your local camera store or fellow photographers. The lenses that I recommend you buy first are the 85, 50, 35. Pick up 2 Godox flashes as well. They're super cheap. But of course, buy what you can afford and think is right for your style of photography. So after watching this video, do you feel like you have a better idea of which wedding photography gear, Nikon specifically, you're going to invest in next? Give it a like if so. Of course, if you have any questions, leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. See ya.